And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at an expansion for the very popular game Mice and Mystics. This is the expansion called The Heart of Glorm, and it actually comes in a pretty neat box. It looks like a book. I remember I said this was on a table the first time I played it with a group of kids. One of the kids said, "I am not playing a game with that thick of a rule book." And I said, no, this is just the box that the game comes in. Now, there's not a lot that comes in this box. There's a few components. What's really the big deal about this box is the rule book that comes inside it, or the scenario book. There are 40 pages. There's actually fewer scenarios in this than in the base game, which comes with 9 different scenarios, but these are very fully fleshed out scenarios. Before I talk about the scenarios, let's take a look at some of the stuff that you get with the game. The game comes with a few components, not a lot. It actually only comes with 2 plastic figures. One of these is Glorm, who is the main bad guy that you will be fighting in this scenario, and the other is Nirde. Now, let's take a look. This is a new player character. In fact, you're supposed to use her if you play this scenario. Now, she's another mystic, which gives you a alternate mystic to use, and she has natural healing, so whenever she kills someone, she gets a wound off of her. It's good to have the 2 different mystics to pick from. I call her the Incredible Hulk because she comes with the ginger root wand, which allows her to do an extra attack for each wound on her card, which is something that the Incredible Hulk has in Heroescape, and there's other games where, you know, the more wounds you have, the more damage you do. Those are always characters that I tend to gravitate towards. It's like, hit me. Now, she only has 3 wounds, so you have to be careful on that. There are some other cards that are included in the game. We have the Arrow of Truth, which basically you can use it to hit somebody. We have the Clockwork Rifle, which is like a one-time use thing, where you can use it during one chapter. But it's a lot of fun to use. Besides, it's a little tiny rifle. And the Bone Knife. And the Lore Rune. I like the Lore Rune because it counts as 4 cheese when you're leveling up. So this is a good way to level up when you find this. But there's also some new bad cards, Mind Worm, Treachery, and there's a couple of those in the deck. And there's more cards in the deck, but I'm trying not to spoil everything in this game. Now, I do want to show you some of the new class things that we have here. We have Bark Fur and Fly and Summon Pet Slug and Tail Sweep. All of these are a lot of fun. I like the ability to fly, of course, is neat for Mystics. The Bark Fur is really good, especially for her. In fact, that's one I would almost say is a great one to start with, because you can add one to their defense until the next time they use an ability. But there's a Tail Sweep for this Scamp. Summon Pet Slug, you don't get to start with that one, but you'll go on later on. And there's actually, even though there's tokens for them, basically, for these slugs. There's Moe and Splee, the little slug pieces. I wish they were miniatures, but they work well enough, and they show up in more than just you summoning them over the course of the scenarios. And we got Exploding Shot and Fortitude. So these are some of the new abilities that you can have, and it's great to have more abilities to add. It makes the process of starting out even more fun as you pick a very specific mouse that you would like to go. Now, there's new monsters. Obviously, I mentioned the slugs. The slugs are in the game, and they're used, sometimes this is a pet, but you will run into slugs otherwise, and I don't want to spoil how that happens. There's no other real new monsters. What they do instead is they have new cards for the different monsters. For example, here we have Skulker Rats. Now look at these rats, they're really nasty. And I think even more annoying than the Skulker Rats are the Mindless Rats. The Mindless Rats could effectively be called zombie rats, because when you kill them, we knock them down, and then you have to hit them again when they're knocked down to get rid of them. Otherwise, there's a chance every turn that they'll stand back up and keep coming. And then there's the Frenzied Crawler. And the lurker, when he wounds you, he'll grab you and run away. And then the very annoying Caustic Roaches. It wasn't like I hated roaches already. Now they shoot poison wounds at you. That's a real pain in the neck. The game also has a cannon which can fire at you. There's a new status that you can get where your mice can be on fire. So you have to be careful for that. And there's a lot of other little things that I don't want to show you right now because essentially that would be spoiling. Okay, so there's not a ton of stuff that comes in the box. In fact, I think some people will look at it and go, that's not a lot. Now, the people who really like Mice and Mystics know that the best thing about Mice and Mystics is the story. On that regard, I have not played all the way to the end, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But I have read the whole book basically because I think the story in this one is much better than the first one. The first one, you got transformed into mice. Oh no, what do you do about it? Okay. In this one, it has a great story of betrayal / love. The main villain, and I'm not spoiling too much because it's like on the first page, is a glowworm. And this whole thing has kind of this aura that settles over the mouse town. And so we have, like I said, zombies. They're not really zombies, but they're mindless rats and mind control and people being driven crazy type thing. And it's really entertaining, and I really enjoy the ending to this. Now, why haven't I finished it? That's because I have to be honest here. This is stinking hard. The very first scenario is hard. Died the very first time. And then play through, and and then we make it through scenario 1. Scenario 2 is also hard. Scenario 3, okay, but that's good. I think it offers a challenge. And if you're playing with kids, you as an adult have the opportunity to mess with the game as much as you want anyway to make it harder or easier. So I think this is a good expansion for people to get if they're looking for a follow-through story. Yeah, there's no really new enemies. Yeah, they're new, but they're using the same models. There's no real new, there's some new abilities. There's lots of new cool little stuff, but it's not the kind of expansion that you open up and go, wow, I can't believe they added this much stuff. But I think that those who like Mice and Mystics already are not liking the game for its plethora of stuff. I think they like the game because the game had a really strong story and is really fun to play together, especially as a family. And this is going to add to that. This is a great story. It adds 6 scenarios in here, 6 chapters, and each of these chapters is really good. It follows through on the previous story really well. I like it a lot because of what comes in here. So you'll have to wait and see. I think fans of Mice and Mystics will be very happy, and if this is any indication of things to come, we're going to like the new modules for Mice and Mystics as they each come out. So anyway, that is the Heart of Glorm.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.